Essentially, it's about, it's about be and do. Be the person you want to be and do the things you want to do and do the things that need to be done.
Yeah, okay. A little Kwanzaa word salad from Kamala right there. What were you expecting? Clarity? Well, happy second day of Kwanzaa on the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka in for my buddy Chris Plant. It is Friday, the 27th of December. It's also, last night was the second night of Hanukkah, and Christmas is on its way out, although the tree will remain up at our house until Three Kings Day, until the Epiphany. Yeah, we'll have the tree up until Three Kings Day, and I'm sure you will as well. I have some neighbors who are rushing to get their trees out to the curb in time for recycling tomorrow, which makes me nutty. Anyway, welcome to Friday. Friday-luya to you, as I like to say, sitting in for my friend Chris Plant. I hope you will be part of the show today, as we are in the single digits of winding down this year. 5 more shows this year. And today's an important show because it is the return of the Woke Olympics. And if you are a fan or a participant in the Woke Olympics, you're welcome to nominate a candidate to receive a Woke Olympics award. 888-630-9625. 888-630-9625 is, of course, the phone number here at the Chris Plant Show. And what the heck are the Woke Olympics? Well, it is an honor, and I'm using the Chris Plant-approved air quotes with my fingers. It is an honor bestowed upon people who exhibit extreme wokeness and do dumb things. And they require us to point at them and occasionally mock very publicly out loud. And that's what we do when we nominate people for Woke Olympics awards. I'll give you a good example. Apparently, the Church of England, yes, the Church of England has a problem with certain language in some of the carols, in some of the music that they're playing. They don't want people to be offended if certain songs are sung. I'm sitting here saying, are you kidding me? Really, are you kidding me? Church of England. And you wonder why the pews are empty. You wonder why people are not going to church, because you're putting wokeness into the ceremonies. Wokeness. You want to censor the language. I guess Mary will be a pregnant person going forward. Anybody uses the term pregnant person to refer to a woman who is with child also should be a nominee or a recipient of the Woke Olympics. So join us today as we explore the nominations of the Woke Olympics for 2024. I have several. In the world of sports. I have several in the world of education. I have a few in the world of politics, as you might imagine, and in the automotive world. But you're always welcome to make your suggestions and join in the Woke Olympics, because it's just a lot of fun. Now, we did have some victories this year, I think, in terms of the wokeness, in terms of stomping out the wokeness. We have several companies that have decided that the woke attitude, the DEI stuff, no longer works, and they are eliminating the wokeness and the DEI. And I also think they believe they're going to save a lot of money, because all of these companies that hired people and made them the DEI vice president on a corporate level, they're saving a bunch of money from having to pay those people exorbitant salaries. It happened at universities, and it happened in the retail headquarters. So that's a good thing. The DEI, which is attached to woke, they are connected. It's going away. And I think that's a very good thing. Walmart pulled back on all of its diversity work, all of it. we also heard Ford and Lowe's and Boeing have said, yeah, we're not going to be focusing so much on this. DEI projects are going the way of the buffalo. Wait a minute, we still have buffalo. Yes, we'll still have some people that have DEI, but we're not going to have the ones like we had in the past. It's not going to be an overwhelming majority of corporate offices that have DEI offices. So we'll deal with that. But the opening clip there featured Vice President Kamala Harris, who still is one heartbeat away from being the President of the United States. She is still the Vice President of the United States, the last time I checked. Posted something yesterday about Kwanzaa and a bunch of hooey about Kwanzaa, which I believe is a hooey holiday. And maybe we should put out a list of hooey holidays as well. Kwanzaa, a phony holiday started in 1966 by a really bad guy who ended up going to prison for being a kidnapper who tortured women. But Kamala, she loves the Kwanzaa and wanted to give us a little Kwanzaa word salad. I played you a snippet of it, but, you might as well enjoy the whole thing.
My sister and I, we grew up celebrating Kwanzaa. Every year, our family, and our extended family, we would gather around across multiple generations, and we'd tell stories. The kids would sit on the carpet, and the elders would sit in chairs, and we would light the candles, and, of course, afterwards have a beautiful meal.
Now, I'm okay with families getting together and having the elders, having the parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles sharing the stories of the family. I think that's good. And if they're also sharing lessons about their faith, I think that's good. I think those are good things. And having a meal together, I think that's really important. But I just don't know, because Kwanzaa was first thought up by this bad dude when Kamala was 2, and then she and her sister, they moved to Canada for a while. I'm not thinking Kwanzaa was that big of a deal. And the guy, Karenga, bad guy, went to jail, prison, 1970, and he was locked up for a while. So I don't think Kwanzaa was really in the community, as it were, especially in Canada. But Kamala's telling more stories.
And, of course, there was always the discussion of the 7 principles.
Okay.
And my favorite, I have to tell you, was always the one about self-determination, Kujichagulia.
What? Self-determination? You had to come up with something else?
Kujichagulia.
Gesundheit, madam. Gesundheit. Kujichagulia.
Kujichagulia.
Sounds like one of those words at the Scripps Howard spelling bee, where the kid asks about Kujichagulia, gets the word Kujichagulia. Could you use it in a sentence? Well, yes, it's a Kwanzaa principle. Let Kamala explain.
And, essentially it's about be and do. Be the person you want to be and do the things you want to do and do the things that need to be done. Yes.
Yes, she made a word salad out of Kujichagulia. It became a word salad.
It's about not letting anyone write our future for us, but instead going out and writing it for ourselves.
Okay.
And that principle motivates me today as we seek to confront the challenges facing our country and to build a brighter future for all Americans. So to everyone who is celebrating, happy Kwanzaa from our family to yours. Kujichagulia.
Kujichagulia to you, too. I may replace testudo with Kujichagulia. I wish that people would recognize the 10 Commandments as well. Might be a better set of lessons than something devised by a convicted torturer and kidnapper who wanted to basically supplant Christianity in this country. That was the mission. From Karenga. I know, sounds like some kind of a villain. But we'll get into more of that. It's a fun topic to have fun with Kwanzaa. Biden even posted something. Well, he didn't post anything. Somebody who works for him posted a happy Kwanzaa statement yesterday. Yeah, I'm not buying it. Not buying it at all. Biden, he doesn't know what's going on. He's in St. Croix at the beach house of some very wealthy person. And he flew there on your dime and my dime. And then he's going to fly home and then fly to Rome on your dime and my dime because, he's the president. And almost 40% of his time in the 4 years in office was spent on vacation. Yeah. The phones are up early today when it comes to the fabulous, the wonderful Woke Olympics nominations. Let's check in with one of the early nominations. Steve is joining the Chris Plant Show from Texas. Hello, Steve. What part of the Lone Star State are you calling us from?
Good old Lubbock, Texas, West Texas, the buckle of the Bible Belt, maybe, the edge of the buckle.
I know that. I thought the people of Wichita Falls claimed that, but I have friends in Post, Texas, 44 miles southeast of you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I pastor a church here, and I do a radio program on this station. I just happened to have the radio on when I got in the car this morning, and so I heard that topic. I thought, oh, man, this is my first time calling in the show. So do we get anything if we get gold? I mean, is it real gold like do we get, or is that just? No,
I
got a nomination that's going to get gold.
There's no actual prizes. You just get our eternal devotion for bringing up a great topic. But it sounds like you believe you have a gold medal winner here.
Yeah. I'm going to set the bar high, I think, for this. So, yeah, and this is. It sounds like it's made up, but it's legit. St. Christopher's Episcopal Church here in town. They have a drag queen for a choir director.
Really?
Yeah. Now I don't think that's his. I think that's his side gig. I don't think he's in drag on Sunday morning. But no, 100%. It's not. I've talked to the dude individually, and the reason I came across all that initially was about 2 years ago when he was doing a gig over at a coffee house here in town that I nicknamed the Stumbleweed and Strange Coffee House. It was tumbleweed and sage. But anyway, he was doing a drag show there, typical, what drag queens do at drag shows and with little kids. And so it ticked me off. I mean, it's big time.
Well, Steve, here's my take on this. This choir director is a grown-up, right? They're of their majority, over 18, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. And the choir director is not doing a drag choir. They're actually doing the traditional church robes, choir robes, and singing the traditional songs, right? I've
never been there. I'm kind of busy on Sunday morning, but yeah. I'm
okay.
Guessing, yeah.
Well, if they have a drag choir in church, I might be a little reluctant. But if this is an adult and not a child, adults can do what they want to do. I just don't think the drag choir thing would be popular in the churches that I've attended. But it'd be kind of interesting to see. Maybe one Sunday you should pop in and see if they do have a drag. I imagine it would make national news if there was a drag choir. I'm just saying.
Well, and that's what's sad. Well, yeah, what's sad is that it's just the fact that he is in the position that he is, and he is a drag queen, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows it in town now because I talked about it for a year on the radio, and so but yeah, just the fact that a church, because I've heard what you were talking about there about church in England, I think it was, but. Yeah, that's where churches have come to the place that a church would, allow, that they'd hire somebody like that, or that he'd still be there, because it's just unthinkable for me. So, but I live in a pretty small box called the Bible, so I'm probably the wrong person to get that kind of opinion on. But.
No, that's absolutely fine. I'm all of allowing adults to be adults as long as they don't break the law, or if they're not foisting it upon children. And I wouldn't like to see a drag choir in my church. I'd like to have women and men singing as women and men. I just think that's kind of a good thing and respectful in a church. But I'm up against the clock, Steve. Say hi to West Texas for me. I miss all that land above the Cap Rock and the great people of West Texas, and I appreciate you being there. It's Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant. You've got a Woke Olympics nomination? Bring it to us. 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. The Chris Plant Show.
Kujitagalia.
You're listening to The Chris Plant Show.
It's the Chris Plant Show for a Friday, and we are looking at the Woke Olympic Games for 2024. It's Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant, and the parade of nominees is beginning to enter the Olympic Stadium here at the Woke Olympics. I'm not so sure we're allowed to use this music. The Olympic people get really tense when you use their music not during Olympic year. We'll find out. I'm sure they'll send us a cease and desist note. But we are honoring those people who, over the last 12 months, those institutions, those politicians, those companies who've exhibited extreme wokeness in their actions and deeds and words throughout the year. And so you're welcome to make a nomination throughout the show, 888-630-9625. Trust me, there are plenty of them. There are plenty. The Associated Press, just to give you an example, getting a nomination automatically because they have, in fact, recognized a boxer, an Olympic boxer, as one of their female athletes of the year. I know it's ridiculous, but remember that Italian boxer who backed out? I think it was an Italian who was fighting against a man pretending to be a woman at the Olympics. And the Italian dropped out and said she'd never been hit that hard in her life. Well, the boxer who failed the DNA test has now been recognized by the Associated Press as one of the top 3 athletes of female athletes of the year, behind Caitlin Clark and Simone Biles. So good job, Associated Press. You guys failed miserably. Failed your biology test. And you also then denied a real woman the right of being the 3rd best female athlete of the year. So I wag a finger at you, Associated Press, and I fling a Woke Olympics medal your direction. Your Woke Olympics nominations and more. I've talked myself into the corner. It's Opelka in for Plant on the Chris Plant Show.
This is the Chris Plant Show.
December 27th. This is the last Friday of 2024, isn't it? Yes. Next Friday, and God willing, I'll be here next Friday to wrap up the vacation shows for Chris Plant. It's Mike Opelka, by the way, and it's always my pleasure and honor to be here. So much to get to today. There is news out of the DNC where the Democrats in disarray are trying to figure out who's in charge. There is news from the Trump camp. There is news from the left side of the mainstream media, and I'm laughing about it already because they're just so triggered by everything Donald Trump is doing, and he's still 24 days away from being sworn in as the president of the United States. Yesterday, I referenced Guy Shiraki's piece about the time between the election and the actual swearing in of the president. And this year it's just long. It's 79 days. And after the show, I had a conversation with somebody who said, it used to be March 4th, and we were okay with that. I said, yeah, but it was March 4th because when Washington was president and the elections happened, people had to get from one place to another, and they couldn't hop on a plane, and they couldn't hop in a car. They had to get on a horse, and you couldn't get there that quickly, and especially if it was winter. So I'm all for it, and I hope that we will come to our senses. That piece from Guy Shiraki is in the opinion section on the Daily Caller, too. They picked it up as well. Before I get back to some of the woke Olympics and some of the other news today, Lee is on the phone from Georgia. Lee, welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for taking my call.
Of course. I will always talk to our friends from Georgia. Always. Welcome.
I just had an idea about helping deport some of these folks that have come in the last 4 years.
Okay. I'm all ears.
I've been a landlord for, 40 years or so. And I've had to evict people quite a few times. And I figured out, maybe 10 or 15 years ago that you could pay people to leave, even if they owed back rent or whatever trouble they were making, and it'd just be cheaper for you.
So you're saying that some of these people who are here in the country illegally, we should consider giving them a cash incentive to self-deport?
Yeah, I don't know why. I didn't ever want to punish my people that had lived in my properties. I just wanted them out, and these people were tricked into coming here. I have some compassion for them.
I get that. I understand that. But are there not a percentage of people who are here among the millions who are here who might be here to exploit the system or, in some cases, as expected, do worse? Some of these gangs, MS-13, Tren de Aragua, anyone who's trafficking in children or drugs, those people aren't victims.
I'm talking about the second wave, Mike. The first wave is you just get those people you're talking about. You just round them up and get them out of here. I'm talking about the second wave of people that aren't criminals besides, and they didn't break into the country. The Biden's administration waved them in, begged them to come in.
So, and Lee, forgive me for making this leap here, but when I hear your words, and you're not incorrect, this administration left the front door unlocked and a blinking light on with a full meal on the table, and people came in and took advantage of that. But if that theory is allowed to be used, then theoretically we should be able to tell everybody that was waved into the Capitol and didn't break the law in terms of vandalizing or attacking Capitol Police and vandalizing property, then we should say to those people they were waved in too, because many of them were waved in and doors were opened by Capitol Police. And so those people should be maybe allowed to be forgiven as well, which is kind of the way I'm thinking on that.
I've got absolutely no problem with that. That should be before anything.
So let me get this straight. Lee, let me understand this, because you have a multi-tiered program here. The first wave of people, the people who are here breaking the law, not only because they're here, but breaking the laws while they're here, you're all in on us getting those people in the first wave and throwing their butts out of the country, right?
Exactly. They get nothing.
Okay.
Except pushed out of here.
And there's a second wave who came here because we basically made it too attractive to break the law and come here. And you want us to maybe encourage them to leave by incentivizing them to leave. How do we figure out how much to offer people to get out?
I've been scratching my head over that, but there's going to be a cost to rounding these folks up, and
yes,
I don't know. They got to have some kind of adjudication. I'm guessing. I don't know. Or you mean? I mean, you have to have some way of being sure you're not throwing out the wrong people. They have to have some kind of process. So I guess it would be, if you could figure out roughly what it costs to get them out of here.
Well, that's an interesting idea. And I believe there is a European country. I'll have to check and see who it is during the break. I believe there is a European country that's already offered $50,000 or the equivalent of $50,000 in their currency for people to leave because they have had a wave of migration. I believe most of it was from Muslim countries, but there was a giant wave of migration. I'm thinking it was Sweden. I'll have to go back and look. But there was at least one country in Europe that has offered $50,000 for people to go home. And now, here's my thought, Lee. If you offer people $50,000 to go home, doesn't that incentivize other people to go there and say, "Oh, I'd like to go back home. Where's my $50,000? I could start a business back home."
You mean people that didn't break in?
Yeah, or people who have not gotten there yet and say, "Oh, there's a program to go back home and they'll give you $50,000. Let's go there. Say we came here and we're not happy." It just feels like there's so much wrong with not just enforcing the law. It seems like we're complicating it. I think your landlord theory is an interesting one, but I think we're kind of apples and oranges in this, or maybe oranges and clementines-ing it. They're related, but not quite exactly the same thing.
Well, I haven't massaged the idea out completely, obviously, but obviously you got to strengthen the borders first.
Yes, and that's what's going to be day one. There's a list of day one executive orders, and at the tippy top of Donald Trump's list is just that, is the border issue. So we're gonna see that first.
Like I said, I don't know. It just seems like, and I agree, it's kind of paying somebody to do the wrong thing, but it's just efficiency. Let's look at Doge, for example.
Well,
what's going to be the...
I understand what you're saying. If it's going to cost us $50,000 per person to find them, house them temporarily until we repatriate them to their home country, why not offer them $30,000 to do it themselves, and we save $20,000 per person? That's kind of what you're saying, right?
Exactly. And then they get to at least have a start when they go back. A lot of these people have left everything, or some of them have.
I'm very nervous about this because I get it, but I think we are rewarding bad behavior. I'm just saying, I feel like one of the great principles that was taught to me as a young man was from one of my strictest mentors who said, "We will not reward bad behavior." And so I kind of feel like I get what you're saying. As a human being, you see people who came here and maybe they were part of a mob mentality. Hey, they're giving away free stuff in America. Let's go. And they risked their way to get across the deserts of the Southwest, and they paid coyotes to get them into the country. And now that they're here, and now that some of them have spent 6 months to a year sponging off the country, we've realized, as New York City has realized, they can't afford it. It's completely unsustainable. And and as Chicago has figured out, it's taking away from the tax-paying people, the good people of the city and of the country, who are feeling like everything they wanted to do is not happening because we're rewarding bad behavior. This is a tough one. I understand what you're saying, Lee, but I think we gotta be careful not to reward bad behavior. But I thank you for that. It's an excellent discussion on that. Very appreciated. Thank you, sir. Tying into my comment about the opening of the doors is Mike in Sunshine, Maryland. Hey, Mike, welcome to the Chris Plant Show. You understand what I was saying with Lee about if we're saying the government opened the doors and these people didn't know wrong, isn't the same apply at the Capitol, as it were?
Correct. Clay Higgins has stated this, what I'm about to say, Clay Higgins has stated publicly. He has a whistleblower who has stated that federal assets were inside the Capitol dressed as MAGA supporters before the door opened.
Yeah, probably.
And as soon as the doors opened, they said, hey, you want to go to Nancy Pelosi's office? You want to go to the floor of, you want to go to the floor. And
the Senate.
Of the Senate. And so this type of behavior needs to be punished by, I think, a lot of these people were led by federal assets to their doom. And I think they need to be this needs to be corrected.
Well, I agree with you on that. That's why I was making the connection to what Lee was saying. But thank you, Mike. Appreciate you being there. Thank you. Let's keep this theme going since this topic is a hot topic. Pete in Vienna, Virginia. Hello, Pete. Welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, sir.
Previous caller had a good point. We need to find a way to defray the cost and motivate people to go. And to be honest, I think maybe the first thing is, honestly, we need to turn off all of the jobs that they can utilize to stay in the country. So those employers that are paying someone under the table or skirting the laws, I think that is one of the things we have to turn that off. Because that is enabling those people to live in the country. E-Verify, instituting that widely, I think would solve that problem. That's probably one of the first things we need to do. And then when that spigot gets turned off, a lot of them will probably really get the feeling that they want to go back or they need to go back. And if we incentivize that with just maybe a free plane ticket, right? And possibly you get a free plane ticket, and if you go on your own accord, minimal penalties, or will allow you to reapply with no penalties, reapply for citizenship with no penalties.
So I
Something
think
like that would probably defray the cost significantly.
I think we're going to see a lot of this kind of thinking, Pete. I think we're going to see from the Trump administration, once it gets in, a lot of creative thinking that will incentivize those who broke the law to get here and didn't come here to become criminals with child trafficking or trafficking in drugs, et cetera, et cetera. I think it will incentivize those people to maybe get out of Dodge. If it's harder for them to continue bilking the system, and if we cut off the gravy train that so many of them are getting, the hotels, the 3 square meals a day, the health care, all that stuff, and start prioritizing our veterans and American citizens, I think those people will see it. But you also give them a really interesting incentive by saying, we'll also expedite you when you choose to come back legally. We'll help you when you decide to do this the right way. That's a very interesting and very humane response, Pete, and I appreciate you sharing it. Thank you so much. I have time to squeeze in one more quick one. Chris in Marshall, Virginia. Hello, Chris.
Good afternoon, sir. I really apologize for my last call that got cut off. Anyway, real quick, I know you're against the wire. We all know what DACA stands for, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. It's not NACA. It doesn't mean never acting about childhood arrivals, but I wanted to make a point about what makes our country great, and that is, we've got this First Amendment, we got this Second Amendment, and all these, these things that are really unique. Personal property ownership is one of them, and I maintain that, look, my MAGA bona fides are solid, but I maintain that if you're born in this country, birthright citizenship is one of the things that makes this country unique on the planet. Our problem, our objections, are not with birthright citizenship, it's with chain migration, and that's got to stop. The abuses, especially the abuses of chain migration. If you're born here, you cannot visit the sins of the father on the son. If you're born here, God bless you, you're an American citizen. Now, if you got to go back to Mexico until you're 18 and then come back in as a full-fledged citizen with rights and freedom, that's great, but you're an American.
Well, I appreciate your input. Your phone is a little wonky, and I have to take a break. It is the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka in for my buddy Chris Plant, right here on the last Friday of 2024.
You're listening to The Chris Plant Show.
It is the Chris Plant Show on a Friday, December 27th. Mike Opelka, that is me, sitting in for my buddy Chris Plant. And Friday focus outside of the headlines. Yes, there's more updates on Donald Trump and his efforts to expand America, talking about making Canada the 51st state, taking back the Panama Canal, maybe buying Greenland. There's more interesting twists and turns in this, and we are going to get into it next hour. Debbie What's-Her-Name Schultz, Democrat congressperson from Florida, has weighed in, and so has Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, Kevin O'Leary. He's got something to say about all this, and he's looking at it from the perspective of a business person, whereas Debbie What's-Her-Name Schultz, she is looking at it from the perspective of a Democrat who has Trump derangement syndrome. We will get to all of that with clips next hour. Plus, we need to talk about your nominations for the Woke Olympics. And I mentioned a couple already today and have talked about some of the really woke things that we saw in 2024. I think 2023, it's going to be hard to beat the Bud Light thing from 2023. When the man pretending to be a woman really crashed a beer company, the number one selling American beer in this country, crashed and burned because of that wokeness. It's going to be tough to beat that. But there are some pretty strong contenders, and they come from all areas: the world of sports, the world of entertainment, the world of faith, the world of government. And I'm sure that I have not seen them all. I think one of the most obvious comes out of the world of politics, and I think it had a lot to do with Kamala Harris losing and Donald Trump winning. And that is Kamala's choice for a running mate in Tim Walz. Suffice it to say, when the vice presidential candidate is known as Tampon Tim because he wanted to put tampons in the boys' bathrooms in Minnesota schools, yeah, you're going to get a Woke Olympics nomination. We'll get into all of it. Second hour of the Chris Plant Show just around the corner. It's Opelka in for Plant right here on the Chris Plant Show. Funny how that works out.